Thank you, everyone. So the next one is a status update on the capital improvement comprehensive infrastructure plan.
So we're progressing through, I'll say the various phases of the plan in terms of, paving as well as infrastructure utilities. We kind of have gotten through, I'll say, the paving portion of it. To give you, we had some conversations a couple meetings ago about that first brush of patching, if you will, kind of project. So the number we came up with what we just initially went out and kind of eyeballed was $2.04 million for just that piece of it. So while we were throwing out some crazy numbers before, that's even a crazier number than we were throwing out. It just, I think, puts the exclamation point on, the amount. Now, once again, we can tailor that program to whatever it needs to be in terms of actual expenditure, but I just wanted to kind of fill that in. That was just our first drive around kind of thing, and throw a number to it. That's what we came up with. So.
And that's just to Band-Aid.
Yeah, that's the scary part. Yeah.
How long would it take, given labor and supply or materials, to do all of that 2.05?
You're looking at a good, that'd probably be like a 6 to 8 week project probably to do the whole thing.
Oh, so that would be that fast.
Yeah, it's paving. So I mean, the challenge there would be more because it's kind of all scattered about. They would be jumping around, and they'd have to mill out the individual areas and then come back and put it all in the same day. We don't leave it open overnight. So there'd be a lot of jumping around. Once we got everything here, they could move pretty quickly. I mean, we've done some of these patching jobs in 3 days. You know what I mean, like in terms of a smaller scale. But once you get the equipment here, we're a relatively compact borough in all reality.
2.05 in 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is the list available of the areas that you target for that?
I have a map too, so I can start to ship it out. My intent was, it sounds like the two meeting's getting full, but to do a little presentation, draft, if you will, in terms of some graphics with, the visuals do more to be able to kind of tell the picture than the actual backup, if you will, but show you where those areas are essentially, and then also show you. I think there's a conversation to be had as well about, okay, well, if we don't want to invest all the money, and this is what I would probably recommend anyway, we're not going to invest all the money in just the patching job. What percentage of the funds are going to go towards that versus let's pick a project as well that we can do, like an entire road, like that kind of balance that need depending on, what the numbers, finally land at, and once again, we're going to have well above the amount of work, and we have money, so we can just kind of pick what approach we're going to take.
I'm curious about that. So there's no negativity behind the question, but why not tackle the worst of the worst rather than tackle half of it and then do a project? I'm just curious.
When you say the worst of the worst, like,
well, the 2.05, I thought I understood you to say previously was kind of the worst of the worst. This is what we would want to patch.
Right, correct. Mm-hmm. You're right, keep going.
So why do $1 million of that and do $1 million of a one road project? Wouldn't there be a greater perception of impact and activity? Getting rid of $2.05 million of the absolute worst.
So unfortunately, I think the word perception is the great word in the statement because people are going to see all this patching going on and they're not going to feel like anything was accomplished, even though you're going to be doing $2 million worth of work. So, despite that, even if you pay one road, and the reality is we'd probably pick a road that is not the worst of the worst because we have to pick something that's in relatively good shape where we're only spending a specific amount of money to make it look good, to be able to, kind of sell that, to be able to sell the rest of the patching. So there is a perception, and we've been through this before too, there's going to be a discussion at some point, I'm sure of it, about where that project gets picked in the borough, in terms of geographic area. So.
But my concern isn't the worst of the worst, it's the almost worst.
Right.
If we don't start treating that, then it's going to be the worst of the worst, so we're always going to be paying more if we don't start fixing the things that will become the worst of the worst. Am I correct on that?
You are, and when you look at a comprehensive maintenance program, you have that, once again, we're already behind the 8 ball, so that patching money is kind of like just being thrown there and it goes away. It's not part of the program, but that stabilizes the areas that are really, really bad. Then we come in and we're doing these rehab projects that are kind of the lower dollar rehab projects for the not so old stuff. We still are going to have 5 or 6, these big ticket jobs, like Allen Street's one of them, for example, that, you know, simply that I was sure a loan could cost me $2 million, you know what I mean, or something like that. So, there is it's not an engineering thing, you know, it really comes down to what you feel would best serve the borough in terms of public perception. So, because all that, you know, if I told you, hey, you know, you want to fix all the stuff right now, I'm going to ask you for $10 million, and you're telling me no. So,
All the stuff for 10?
the first round. You know what I mean? So, but in conjunction with that, you know, then we move on to the next, you know, phase. As council may or may not be aware, you know, we've actively been talking about a project on Keller and George Streets for years, in terms of a storm sewer project. But if you've been out to Keller, you know, once we do that storm sewer project, really there's going to be nothing left to Keller too as well. So that has to be factored in. You know, I think the authorities of the opinion that they want to move forward with that project this year. That's got to be factored in, you know, what we're going to do with that street, because that's a rebuild. You know, that's from the ground up kind of thing. So there will be a number of options in terms of decision points, like at a high level, you know, not specific streets necessarily, but approaches, I think is the best way to put it, that we'll need some input on before we kind of make a final, you know, recommendation as for where the actual money will be applied. But, yeah, that's it. So, and then the last piece of that will be in connection with Curtis, you know what I mean, in terms of those areas to see what sanitary sewer infrastructure improvements or repairs, whatever we're calling, you know, would potentially need to be made. So we get in there and do those before we get any of this work.
Estimate on Keller rebuild?
I wouldn't want to give that to you right now, but I can put that together. The $2 million is pretty close.
What do you think?
I don't think it's $2 million. We did Allendale for $800. That was a couple of years ago. So, you know, that's not way out of whack.
Alrighty. Thanks, Engineer Golsky. We're going to move on to discussion on street sweeping options.
I am talking to Evercore about the street sweeper, getting them in here, and I had an email into Justin over at the it's gone. He's been in here twice already. Gave us the name completely slipped my mind. He's over on Gettysburg Road.
Vortex.
That's it. Thank you, folks. That's been happening a lot lately. Vortex, see what they want to come back with. They have proposed 3 times before, so we'll see what he comes back with. But at least getting something in here for Jubilee Day is on the agenda, one way or the other.
So, touching on the street sweeper thing, I noticed in Rebecca Yerrick's report, it says the borough applied for funding to purchase a street sweeper in the past from the online gaming revenue and PA local share account. Is that something from the past?
That's not the past, that's another place. I grabbed it and pulled it over here to update you on that, and that would be another fine borough.
Okay, I was gonna say, I mean, that's not really, but I'd like to.
Don't go with that one, Joe. Let's go over here.
I don't know, is that something that would be available for us to look into for that particular grant, or?
Well, that closed. That grant is closed.
Gotcha.
But that will be an annual grant.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Things change a little in January, but that was the plan.
All right, thank you.
The first year for it.
So we're gonna move on to the Public Safety Department report. So we'll start with the Chief Myers and her report.
Part of mine is moving to the exec session. And basically what I have right now is we're participating in a grant through Cumberland County that reimburses overtime for crosswalk enforcement. That started today. And if you don't have my written report, we'll get to the next time. All the players weren't in place to get all the pieces in place, so I will give it to you the next time, I promise. Unless anybody has any questions for me.
Thank you, Brian. Fire Chief, yeah.
Well, real quick, Joe, you got my report sent out earlier, but, prayers to not only the family, but the responders that worked the job yesterday with the victim in the silo. So over 3 hours it took for them to recover him and bring him back to ground. Other than that, no issue. Any questions?
The volume of the house siren on Main Street is much improved.
Did it change?
We're broken.
Where's that?
Oh,
What, I heard last night,
now you heard citizens.
No, on Main Street you didn't.
that was citizens I heard last night?
I don't know. Whose house do we hear?
So, yes, because the reason why the house siren yesterday buzzed off was because it was a technical rescue, and that was under the old format of Company 27 participating, for Team 500. So, the fire company is going to have at their next meeting, we're gonna have discussion and vote on whether to have the siren repaired, fixed, but we'll see where that goes. Whether they continue to blow the siren and at what station. So, we might have to go
I like
through this
it.
again.
Yeah, no, don't have to me.
We'll see.
Thank you, Chief, yeah.
I like it.
And then we'll, get over to EMC Wardle.
Thank you. I submitted a written report, wanted to highlight a few things. There was a Jubilee Day safety meeting today, which was attended by several people in this room. I think that it was a great opportunity for the Chamber's Safety Committee to meet with members of the borough, and also Bob Shively, County Emergency Services Director, was also there, just to talk about anything that we need to be aware of heading into Jubilee Day. Chief Myers and Roger have done a lot of great work already to make sure that the borough is prepared for the first Jubilee Day in 3 years, and I told Jeff Palm that I will try not to cancel it for the 4th year in a row, because if you remember correctly, 2 years were canceled due to COVID, and the year before that was almost canceled because of a tornado risk. COVID-related transmission has continued to be low in Cumberland County ever since we had our initial discussion on this and dropped the mask mandate in borough chambers. Transmission has been low. The only places where it has not been low in Pennsylvania during that time is near the New York border, and that is largely a result of the cases that are in New York State funneling down into north central / northeastern PA, and I think it's 3 counties up there. So the south central part has not had any issues. Hospitalizations and cases are creeping back up, but at a much more manageable level than creeping up that we had seen previously. And one last thing, a little bit outside of my EMC duties, but I wanted to thank Curtis and everybody who repaired the storm drain in front of my house. I no longer have to hear my wife wonder if any of my kids are going to fall into it, because it was about ready to fall in. So thanks to the borough staff and the contractor who took care of that. And the report. Unless there's any questions.
I don't think so. I think that, means that we are done with our public works and safety.
Thank you. Superintendent Dewey and Engineer Vinsky, you can please yourselves.
Yeah, much appreciated, thank you. Have a great evening.
That should be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, Greg's gonna wanna sit at one of these tables.
For that side of the table, well, we don't have any business on the agenda for the rest of the meeting.
Are you sure of that?
We can go.
Yeah, if you don't have any business on the
Hurry up before he changes his mind.
Thank you.
All right, next one, community outreach.
Yes, thank you. A highlight that's probably not news, but it was not to be announced until recently, but the Friends of the Library Book Sale Center is moving to 45 West Allen, which is Agway. And I'm out of town. Has Agway shut down yet and moved, or they're still in the process? Okay. So that's going to happen in time for the August book sale, and they've asked the community to hold off on books being dropped off at the former place and the new place until further notice, probably the end of this month, I think. So that's the library report. Ms. Fancy, anything from the school board?
I was not able to attend the school board meeting due to my surgery. However, I did speak with the school board director, who said they're pretty much just talking about the budget these days.
The budget. Fun stuff. Thank you. All right. So, items for committee discussion. The website redesign is at the stage where we were looking for photos, and I know a request went out to the Mechanicsburg Middle School, to the superintendent there at the school district. Roger, do you have an update?
I've been back and forth with the actual instructors for the two clubs. They're going to do that. The kids are excited about it.
Yeah.
They're going to set up a portal, and they're going to upload it. I did ask for, a brief bio for the kids and stuff like that, so we can give credit where it's due.
Absolutely.
But for the most part, they're excited, and I think it's going to work out pretty well. It'll give us a different perspective of how our younger people, not to steal Chairman Miller's terms, but a younger perspective of how they see Mechanicsburg. So, but yeah, they're really excited. I haven't seen any pictures yet, but weather hasn't really been conducive to taking pictures yet, so we'll see where it goes from there.
Great idea.
I think it's a great idea, and including that in the long term, the website is great. From our photographer that we engaged, she was out taking pictures this week and last week, and she is going to finish the rest this weekend. We will have, hopefully, the official set that we can start, or have to work with the design team and move forward.
So obviously the photos are an important part, but do we have any updates from Revise on the work they're commissioned to do, and what they need from us?
No, I haven't, and I've been in meetings all day today. I did not check the portal today to see if there's any notices out there. The last we had was a webinar on the forums thing.
That was today.
Yeah, and that's something we decided not to go with on this, so we didn't. But Barb didn't check today. She was doing other things too, so.
From what I understand, though, from looking at from reading the portal, they rely on us to get the pictures to them first.
Okay.
In order to then set up the design, the initial design. So that's what's really holding up.
Okay.
That's why we want to really get it wrapped up as soon.
And I know Jenna was talking about the site map and getting something fleshed out on there. They haven't pulled our old website and done the site map off of it yet.
No, I assume once we have our initial meeting, it will be lightning speed, but we really have to get them ourselves.
Okay. All right, I'll follow up with the instructors tomorrow and see where they stand with as far as that portal goes.
Any other input from the committee or from the council on the project? Questions? Okay. Next, the council chamber AV upgrades. Roger, could you just give a quick overview of what we'd like to do with this project? And you and I, the last meeting, were hoping to meet, but I was away. And
that's right.
So can you just give a quick overview of what this project's intended to do?
This is Rhode Island Township, Silver Spring Township, and I don't know if anybody's ever made it over as far as Lower Paxton Township. They have a system set up. Lower Paxton has a really compact chamber that they meet in. They have a camera, and what we've talked to with Third Element, since they've done some of these other places, they just come in here and they said this would be a great thing to do. Use the existing camera with another one up here to get the entire table, because right now it cuts off, I think about here and Nate are the two that, we can't see anybody beyond that with the camera that's up there. The sound system is analog yet, so we're looking at an upgrade to digital. get rid of these and actually have pucks on the table. And then what they're gonna do with the video system is another camera back here, one up here, so that when somebody's standing at the podium, and we're broadcasting, or however we decide to go forward with it, streaming or whatever the case is, the people behind here can't see who's standing there, so that'll broadcast onto that screen. Chairman Miller has about another 70-inch in the back, so that's gonna raise the cost a little bit of what our estimate, what the quote is that we got. And then House Bill 2824, whatever it is, and the ability to live comment is going to put another wrinkle into this whole thing, which is something that we're looking at. I don't think, what we're gonna need is we're gonna need somebody to run that if that happens. So we're talking about a control station over there in the corner, that wouldn't really participate in the meeting, but that person would, run the whole system. I would still have 2 computers here and be able to see what was going on, but I wouldn't be able to do anything that person over there would. So there's a whole upgrade that we're looking at. This is stuff that they've installed in other places. Sure. And people seem to be pleased with it. I was over at I've talked to Ray, at Silver Springs. He really likes it. One of the things that they did caution about at Silver Springs, and they found out, was the delay that's created with, if you want to live stream and try to record it at the same time and have people interact, there's a delay. So they found out that they were opening up the floor for comment, closing the floor for comment, and then 15, 20 seconds later, somebody would send a comment in, or it would move through. So it depends on what we're using, Zoom, YouTube. Some of this stuff has to go to California and then come back to the people that are watching it, so there is a delay there. We've noticed it with certain things here too, but they were concerned about that. But what he's provided for us is a decent system. It needs some upgrades, especially with, I spoke to Solicitor Cassidy about the House bill, and it could add quite a bit to the number.
I would assume the House bill didn't include money for the
Of course not. But it was asked. When everybody went virtual during COVID, one of the things that a lot of the residents were complaining about was the fact that they couldn't interact with the council, with the meeting, through Zoom and stuff like that. So, some council or people in over Harrisburg decided we're going to fix that. So they introduced House Bill 2428. It's still in committee, but there is that opportunity to, and like I said, I think to you on the email, or Solicitor Cassidy's email, if it's something that has potential going through, I'd like to get it added to the system now, instead of trying to retrofit it into the system later on. And speaking to Dave Sizer at Third Element, he's 100% in agreement. Get it taken care of now, and instead of trying to make the system work with something different. So, but that is one.
So are we obligated to go with Third Element?
No, I'm using them because they're under the service contract with us for all of our IT stuff. I'm using them to draw information. The number that's on there, Solicitor Cassidy, you can verify this, we would have to bid this project. Absolutely, I don't see any other way around it. You sent me Sage. I'm gonna speak to them, set something up with them to come in and do the same thing. But we would almost have to bid this with the amount of money that we're looking at.
Yeah, I think we should be open to ideas as well and find some way to put that into the process, because I'm not particularly happy with the camera that we have.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that too. Cool camera.
It's really not that great. Doesn't give a good quality at all.
No.
And I'm not necessarily dead set on having a TV in the back, but having some option to have a screen in front of us would be good, so that we're not turning around when there's a presentation, or if there's someone speaking to us via Zoom. that it would be in front of us rather than behind us.
Right.
But I'm not dead set on the TV. If there are other options available out there, that's worth considering.
Thank you for that quick overview.
Quick side question. Would Third Element support the training and servicing of the system if they install it, and if they do not install it, will they support it under the contract with them? If you're not sure, good question, because we also contract with them, and that has become an issue. So we need to keep that in mind. I didn't expect you to really know that, because I'm not sure it will come up in a conversation, but if Third Element supports something, generally they require that they have done the installation, which is a big issue.
Yeah, and that does become an issue. I mean, I know that, Chief's finding that out with the computers in the cars. You know, I mean, the ex-codes person bought a laptop that and it wasn't bought under their umbrella, and they won't service it.
That's typically with all IT firms?
I think you're gonna run into that, yeah, I'm afraid.
My experience is not all, but they're moving to that model in order to funnel sales through their organization. I don't think it's a particularly consumer-friendly policy, but
Well, in terms of the borough, if we have a large project that we have to go out to bid for,
Yeah.
that makes it.
well, they need to negotiate that in their contract.
Yeah.
That they have to support. One of the other problems naturally, and I'm sure most of you already know this, is that they start pointing fingers at each other, right? So the system installers say, well, it's your internet access, and the internet people say it's your system, and then they all point at the network people, and the owner or manager of the organization just left standing there incredibly frustrated.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing. I mean, one of the things that we're doing this year with Third Element is trying to get the highway garage and the sewer plant in under our umbrella, and working on our servers and our systems, because right now, Curtis is out there on his own. He doesn't have, he's not part of the service contract with Third Element, so anything that happens in the sewer plant is above and beyond that service contract. So, we're trying to get everybody under the same umbrella to work.
Is that service contract something we have to bid?
We haven't, because they had specific, I know that, it was actually prior to Chief Myers, there's some security things that Third Element has that other firms don't have, as far as the police internet goes.
Roger, when we did the, camera for the compost facility,
Yes.
actually the same exact thing, we ended up doing was, in the bid documents, we wrote in that they whatever the successful contract was, had to use Third Element as their integrator. And then also, that allowed, they at least at the time were happy with that. That was 10 years ago, probably at this point, but, it was still, end around.
Yeah, we can do something like that, because they are gonna have to be onto our servers, so Third Element's gonna have to be involved in one way or another.
Roger, what would you need from the committee at this point to make this go forward or to enhance the,
I think I'd like to know, I mean, this is, what I provided was a system that we talked about, I'm gonna say right in the middle of COVID going forward, before we stopped meeting in person. So that's kind of where we are with that system. If there's other ideas that you want on there, provide them so that I can get, Third Element to update their prices and go from there. So that's probably the best thing we could do. I mean, we have the ARP funds, or the governmental expenses funds. This is something that I think we've all been looking for a long time. Probably previous to any of you guys, any of us that are sitting here, except the mayor. But,
They didn't have computers back then.
But I think it's something we've all been looking for. It's something that, some of the residents have been looking for. We made a lot of progress with recording these, putting them on YouTube. Now I think it's time for us to take the next step, but I think we need something that, You know, it's been talked about staff and how much stuff we do on our own. We need something that's a little easier than, you know, me taking a half day tomorrow to process this to put it out on YouTube.
Absolutely.
So I think that's where we're leaning. Let me know what you guys want to see, how you want it to work, what you want to produce for the residents. And I'll have Third Element come up with something. I'll talk to Sage and see what they can do. And then we'll come back with a proposal for that.
So that's an important factor, the labor that you and staff put into that. If that can be reduced through technological upgrades, that would be great. So those details, are they factored into the general proposal?
That, yes.
There, okay.
Yeah, because that'll take away a lot of that stuff. The switching of cameras and stuff like that, and the way they have it set up at Silver Springs, I looked at that today when I was over there. There's a small little numeric keyboard, and function 1 is the board, and that's what gets broadcast. Function 2 is somebody at the podium, input picture-in-picture with something they're putting up on the screen. So there's you know, whoever's running this is doing it. Now, when you throw in the comment section, that adds something else to that. That's not just somebody sitting here in this seat changing the cameras. That's somebody interacting with, you know, them, and then when the chairman asks, do we have any comments on this subject or any citizens' comments, that person's gonna have to read those off. You know, so
it wouldn't be interruptions, it would be at the appropriate times.
Exactly.
That's what we surmise.
That's how I would imagine doing it. It's the policy is entirely up to you guys.
Okay.
I've contacted Liz in the borough that works for visual sound. To your point about getting other ideas in here beyond what they're talking about, maybe a third.
Who's that?
Visual sound. Gentleman's name is Rob Worth.
What's the status on council members participating in the meeting remotely?
I mean, legally,
I didn't hear the question. What's the status on council members participating in meetings remotely? So, currently, getting back to HB 2428, that is not addressing that issue just yet. So, council members can participate remotely via any telecommunications device, provided that the rest of the council and the public can hear that council member speak, and then the council member can hear both council and public comments as well during the meeting. So it can be by telephone, or it can be by a Zoom link, or any other type of telecommunication link.
Will that sunset at any point?
So that's not, we still have to have a physical quorum present in the council chambers in order to do that. So that's not specifically permitted under the Borough Code or the Sunshine Act, but that's based upon a Pennsylvania Supreme Court decision allowing board members to participate in public meetings via conference call. What we're hoping to get, well, I don't know if everyone's hoping, but we'd like to have would be to have the flexibility to factor or written into the law to allow for virtual meetings like we were doing during COVID. We were able to do that during COVID only because of the governor's emergency declaration and his order suspending the technical compliance with the Sunshine Act in that case. It would be nice to have that written into the Sunshine Act to allow that in cases of emergency, but we're not there yet. And currently, council members can vote remotely as long as those requirements are met. Currently, that's correct. It'd be nice to have that functionality built into the system too.
And remote participation by council, is that at the discretion of the chair or discretion of the council person?
It's really at the discretion of the chair.
Okay.
Let's leave it at that.
Okay.
The preference would be to have council members attending in person, and virtual participation in council meetings should really be limited to extraordinary circumstances.
Any other questions or comments for this project?
Just one quick one. How much do we pay approximately Third Element for their contract every year?
I'd have to get back to you on that. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay, you don't need to get back.
It varies in the year because we have different things, like different computer, different upgraded, different projects, like this year, we're gonna do a server upgrade. You know, and we're moving everything to the cloud base too, so this year's a little more exorbitant than what it is, so. And I don't have the budget pulled up on my laptop here
Are you running your phones through Fairhaven?
yes, through Greenlinks actually.
Right.
It's a third party. They were sold it. Yes, they were the ones that installed it. They're also the ones installing the Greenlink phones at the pool now too.
Is there a specific contract with Fairhaven, or is it just
I think it's year to year. They come in, we go over what we want. They hold the licenses to a good bit of our software. They work very well with Edmunds whenever the time comes that we have conflicts between Edmunds and those computer systems, and they have a history that they know what bugs we've got in this building.
Any other comments or questions?
I wonder if any of these companies that do the AV would be able to, like, maybe they have a system that they can put in, and if House Bill 2020 something or other happens, maybe there's like a patch or something they could put in, or like a plug-in, almost like how the website has different things we can add in at a later time, maybe they'd be able to do that, you know?
Yeah, I think once I get the general idea, I mean, what I gave out was general. This is a system that in my opinion, hit on the points that everyone was talking about at least last year.
Okay.
Update it with what you feel that you wanna see. I will send it out and we can get prices, we'll get quotes from different people and we'll go from there.
Do you feel like you have some additional direction from us from tonight?
I do, yes. I think there's a little bit of expansion, and I think, I would like to, let's pinpoint some ideas so that I'm not making assumptions on things. Okay? All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Community and Economic Development, Councilman Bureau.
Okay, hang on a second. All right, let's see. Well, let's start off. Ms. Yerrick, would you like to tell us through your report?
You betcha. Thank you for catching that, Councilman Cooper.
Problem, hey, whenever
Okay, I'm gonna skip down to business and property updates. Coloring House Restaurant, closing May 14th. In my work with Smoke and Pickles to find them a new location to purchase downtown, just off downtown, I contacted a relative of these Malioses to see about the possibility of that property being for sale. Because through the years, I've heard rumblings or rumors about them wanting to sell, or a family member buying it or taking it over, so what the heck, contacted them. And it wasn't for sale then, they hadn't been thinking about it. They've suffered through all of the straits that all eateries and a whole lot of businesses have due to COVID. But overall, I think they just thought it was time. So that property will be on the market, and the price that it will be marketed for is $1,050,000, which is a little bit more, about $200,000 more than they had offered to Smoke and Pickles. It includes the hotel liquor license. The upper floors are rooms. They are not apartments. They could not be used as apartments. A number of them have to stay rooms because of the hotel liquor license. So if you didn't want that, you might be able to cobble some of them together, but many of the rooms have a twin bed and that is it, and there's no room for anything else. The larger or more spruced up ones have a commode and a shower. Some of those are not on the same level. Most of the guests, being in a hotel, have a community restroom shower area. So
License as a hotel or a boarding
it is.
house? Okay.
Well, I don't know how it's, I don't know how your ordinance reads in terms of that,
hotel slash boarding house. Because of the liquor license being a hotel liquor license, there's some technicalities there, and that's the reason why it's a special case.
So there are people that reside up there?
Yes, oh, yes.
No, they're guests.
They're guests.
If they do not have,
Their address
they don't have leases, they have,
Yes, it's been living there for years.
yeah, they're living there. Well, every month they re-up, they decide to stay.
They're long-term guests.
Because of the liquor license, we need to refer to them as guests. And frankly, I've met with a number of different entities who might be helpful in financing a project there, for Smoke and Pickles. And some of that discussion is tied on to the possibility of that being a hotel, more like a youth hostel in Europe. If any of you are familiar with that, they're very stripped down, very, very small, for people that are staying maybe a night or two. That's not the case that we have here, but that's the thinking in terms of being able to go after some grants to be able to do that. There's a tourism hook to it. So, that's what's going on there, and keep our eye on it. I've taken 2 entities through it. I'm told that there is another entity that's interested in that. I don't know anything about them or how interested they are. Also on the liquor front, I have yet another business in Cumberland County that will be going before their host municipality next week, requesting economic development liquor license. They will get that, and that will put a number of people in the queue who already have their municipal resolutions. We have one here that's Gingerbread Man, and I happen to have yet another business who's looking to go through that process. So that will put 6, 7, 8 or so people in that queue. Again, 2 are issued each year, and it's a fairly lengthy process. We have one that applied last June that hasn't had their hearing yet.
So is there a chance that the Gingerbread Man will be able to get a liquor license this year, or not?
They had their hearing scheduled for the first week in March, and they pulled that. You may have read the article, my conversations with the attorney and Mr. Phelan. There was another reason. They had applied in the name of the building owner, Valero, as opposed to the business itself. So they pulled back for that reason. Clearly, they're still working on it, so they haven't had that hearing, and it's not been rescheduled. They'll have to request that it be rescheduled. Would it be issued this year? I would say that's extremely doubtful, because some of these places that are applying are already there. You know, the one that's next week is a license for the former Applewhite in Carlisle. The 7-Eleven is under construction in Upper Allen. The place in Shippensburg is an existing restaurant that's been there forever. So.
Point of clarification, so they pulled it because of the name in which they were applying under was the building, not the business. But from what I understand, the resolution we did was for was it for the business or was it for the company?
I think they're good with that. What's for the Gingerbread Man?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Oh, well, I don't know if there's any other back end stuff that we'd have to do.
No, I don't.
I would, for their sake, I would hope not.
Yeah, yeah, anyway.
I don't believe so, but I'm no Mike Cassidy either. The Barney property, this is the property that has Nybert's Barbershop and Recordsmith. That sold, that went to settlement last week. The new owner doesn't plan any changes there. The tenants will remain. On my third page, I have a picture of model actress Miranda Kerr, and she looks great in a gown designed by Sheila Frank. That's a second red carpet honor for Sheila Frank, and I put that in my report specifically because in the online voting under Red Carpet Fashion Awards, She was second only to Kim Kardashian, and I've always wanted to mention her name in my report. Down to Earth Cafe will open in Legacy Park this summer. The Urban Female College that was purchased in November is being marketed to a number of other developers. Thank you so much for sharing the information that you had about that entity. We're keeping track of this, and I've served it up to one developer. I have a couple others in mind. The price tag increased over $1 million, and that's ridiculous. So that's a real problem for me. That's what I have.
Why did that happen? Why is it being marketed? Was it just a quick turn?
The gentleman who owned it before had told me less than a year ago, I inquired about it, I was wondering, I put it on my redevelopment prospect list. And he said that he was looking for an exit strategy in 2 to 3 years, and he gave me a window of what he expected he would sell it for. So then comes this other entity, and I don't know who that is yet, but I have someone who's working, someone that they approached to buy it now, but I will get that information. And they paid a lot more than that. And now the price is well over $4 million.
And did the current buyer buy it to just turn it?
No, we don't believe so.
There was some discussion and contact with the code's office, and with me about developing the open space between the front of Urban College and Main Street. And we told them what they would have to jump through hoops, and now the building's up for sale.
I understand. Okay.
Well, it's not on the market.
Right,
It's being marketed to 3 or 4 different interests.
Can we go back to page 1 for just a moment?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to be too long, Councilor Booker needs to get home. But
Please make sure that's in the minutes.
I noticed that there was some discussion about the museum association. They do such a nice job on all of their buildings and really should be commended for the fantastic. I didn't know if they were applying for a grant to put a big shower curtain up around the passenger car, or, I mean.
Well, that's another discussion.
It certainly is.
And we need to have part 2 of that discussion.
Were you at Carb last night?
No, it was not. I'm anxious to hear about it. Ms. York, there's the committee or the council for any questions or comments for the wonderful work, once again, presented by Rebecca Garrett. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Almost feel like we should applaud. Okay. Planning Commission, sadly, I have to say that I thought about that in the morning, and it was out of my head completely by the afternoon. Did anybody make a meeting other than Roger? Roger, could you bring us up to speed?
Yeah, there was a simple subdivision plan that was presented. There was a lot of comments on it. The Planning Commission decided to table that and move forward. I just got the comment letter from the county today on that. It's a little more extensive than yours was, but it also had their process for submitting to the county for review. So the folks are trying to do it on their own, I think, instead of having an engineer involved. And Greg is trying to get a hold of the engineer. The engineer that drew up the initial sketch plan to inform him as to what he needs to do. So we're going to see if that gets put on the next agenda if they resubmit something.
And did you email him today, Roger, with no response?
Okay.
I'm assuming it's the same guy, but I don't know for sure.
I did approach, and there's a special reminder at the bottom there, the special meeting. I did approach Tim Dwyer, the longstanding member on the Planning Commission, along with Harry Baker, that was privy to and did a lot of the background work on the comprehensive plan. He is going to make himself available next Monday night to be here to help give us a little bit of a background on that. So I'll save the rest of it for when we get down to that last item.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Hardly in our report, Councilperson Haggerty.
So we met yesterday, very productive meeting. They are reviewing the ordinances and making comments, and in conjunction with the borough staff at making changes to the application, adding some things to make it more clear and concise for applicants to come through. A comment was questioned yesterday if the intent of HARB from the original intent is still the intent. My comment was, I have not been informed that we have, as a council, changed our intent with HARB. We will continue to honor the original intent of the program. So as far as that, I think that the issues that we've had in the past seem to have subsided, and very positive interaction has occurred. I'm pleasantly surprised, and we did have a citizen yesterday bring in a model of what they would be doing to their home, a constructed model, beautiful. So that's our new standard, and we'll add that to the application, just so you can please check that in the record. I think that things are going much better with HARB and that, so I look forward to seeing what their next comments are on the ordinance and being able to come back and present that to everyone with the new updated application.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I cleaned up in the ordinance, I cleaned up the process, I added a few things, that they were requesting. Now it's kind of back in the HARB's lap as to what they wanna see going forward. I know there's mixed views on the HARB. Some of them want it to be, this is, we're gonna tell you even what nails to use. Other ones are, let's try to keep it as a preservation ordinance and not lose any more than what we already have. So it's gonna take a little while to get them, I think, all on the same page. But then again, that's gotta come back to the council for you guys' final approval. And if you decide to run it through the planning commission will review it also. So there's a couple different levels there. One of the things that I explained to them, and Solicitor Cassidy, you can chime in on this too, some of the things that we require for each of the submissions, we want to specify those with resolutions. That council can change those a little easier than they can upgrading the entire ordinance and stuff like that. So there's going to be some resolutions involved with the new Chapter 10A, and then we can go forward from there.
That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on HARB, comments? Moving on to Downtown Mechanicsburg Partnership Liaison Report, Councilwoman Agnew.
So just a comment about the new green space where the building that used to exist on West Main. They did lay down the sod, it's looking beautiful, so please drive by slowly and look at it until it takes root. And I know that we had worked with sewage and water about getting some fertilizer, but that didn't work out, but the offer was there, so we appreciate that from the borough. And then we have a wine walk coming up. So it will be this Saturday from 11 to 4. So if you have not bought your hand-painted wine glass, I did not paint any. So they're beautiful. Please go ahead and purchase. You can purchase them at Rosemary House right now, Not So Shabby, East Main Street, 226 East Main Street, of course, Not So Shabby, Little Park, and then the day we'll be using Georg's Gathering Place for a launching pad for this. And it's a lot of fun if you haven't participated in it in the past. So please come on down and bring your wine holder, as everyone will do. Walk around with an empty glass of wine because you drank it in the businesses and aren't having open cups walking around. The chief on occasion.
Chief is proud of you for that.
And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the Downtown Mechanicsburg Partnership?
Who's watering that grass?
So, DMP is watering it.
Okay.
Go down. We'll do it.
I'll just say, I looked at it today, I was like,
So it'll be watered.
it's stressful.
All right.
I think the fire company did it the first time. Gary said about, he was down and did it.
Yeah, it's supposed to rain, yeah.
He might have done it the first or second time, but
They're coming.
he got busy that
They're
the
coming.
first time.
Well, and they did give away extra pieces of sod. I may have taken a few, and I have not had to water mine quite as much as they have, so I will take a peek at that and send them a poke or ask the chief if he can go and water it. There's a hydrant right there that they can water.
I think just for clarification, do you have anything on the sidewalk, the sinking sidewalk section?
So they are looking at that, and we do believe that it needs to be repaired and replaced because the sink is too much.
weekly, I have been asking them to get it fixed.
Before Jubilee.
And it actually came up again today at, the Jubilee Day Safety.
And I've spoken to James Ray and other members of that board and suggested that that needs to be done before Jubilee Day as well. I don't know if we need to send a letter to make it a little clearer. We don't want to be adversarial in any way, but it is a pretty big safety.
Let me use my powers as liaison to poke them a little bit, and if that doesn't work, then maybe a letter.
Okay, because it has been mentioned numerous times.
Yes.
I'll go ahead and mention.
I think both of us need to do.
So the chief is weighing in and no one's
Chief
heard
knows
of
too,
it.
yeah. I think between Chief and I, we have, we've talked to quite a few people about getting that fixed.
Where's the sinking sidewalk?
It's, right where the truck came in,
Yeah.
they damaged the sidewalk, so right there where the,
It doesn't need to necessarily be pretty, just,
I think they would prefer pretty.
we will settle pretty safe.
Good big plywood over it?
No, so you're not on that committee.
Moving right along, committee enter discussion, reminder, special session accounts are scheduled for Monday, May 9th, 6 p.m. on the comprehensive plan. Council, please mark your calendars. That ends our report, thank you.
Moving on to property parks and recreation, council report.
I don't have anything from the rec board, they are meeting tomorrow, and I will be there. Anything, Mr. Booker, on Shade Tree?
Shade Tree did not meet this month because of the lack of quorum.
Okay, I'll be there too. Okay.
And then, I can just do my next report if you'd like.
Yep.
Alrighty, so just a couple big things going on over at, the EAC. The natural playground update, Administrative Assistant Arnold has, reported that she is going to be, seeking out, Cumberland Ferry VOTEC regarding benches and picnic tables for the playground. So she's getting some information on that. Earth Day was, a success, well, except for Councilwoman Atherton, she got some injured.
The only comment I would have is that we need to have recycling bins out for Earth Day, because that would be the reason that I had my phone. Sorry to blame you.
So Earth Day was a success. The pollinator gardens, I believe this was mentioned earlier, by Superintendent Huey. The pollinator gardens in the borough, and the plantings will take place on May 14th at approximately 12:30 p.m. And then the community garden update, there have been things that are starting to take root. Since March 15th, the compost bins are rebuilt and new wheelbarrow will be needed soon. And that's it.
All right, any questions about any of those items? No? All right, so committee items for discussion, Manager Straczynski, included a memo for CPT access policy for all of us to peruse.
Yeah, and any questions, I mean, we've done it, this is the second time we've done it since I've been here. But it gets done more often. For some reason, the keys seem to multiply themselves. But I went out Sunday a week ago, and the back gates were open. For some reason, somebody was in the pool area, so I think it's time. And I've been out there. The referees were using it as a changing room, as I think I mentioned in the memo.
The football referees?
Yes. Now they have facilities that I shouldn't be at. One of those chairs set up, all sport bottles and stuff scattered all over them, they had the windows were blacked out in the front, so they were using it to change. And I spoke to Jeremy Freeland about it, and he said, yeah, that's what they were doing, so.
Even after the field house was done?
This past year, they did not use it, no.
Okay.
So with the field house, that'll go away, but, it was a little concerning going out there and finding the gates open on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, that's super bad.
Yeah, and we've had people come in while CH is out there working, people come in through the front with keys that we don't know how they got them. So, Judy's has our plan of what we did last time. they're ready to go, and get those taken care of. All I gotta do is let them know how many keys we need.
I don't have any questions, comments about that, I mean, other than, it seems like that needs to be done, I mean, somebody could meander in there and drown in a pool while nobody's around.
Yeah.
Is it a padlock for the gate?
The padlocks, like, I mean, I have a master key that opens the padlocks and the doors, it also and locks them up, but, and CH has a master key. There's a few master keys around, I think there's 4 total currently, that we know of. And they all are stamped, do not duplicate, but.
Right, so I was gonna suggest an intelligent combo lock that could be changed frequently as needed.
That's a possibility, that could be something. I mean, I know, for my use, I have this one key, this is the key that gets me into the pool, this is the one that does, I can get into any of the rooms out there with that. That's actually the park, the whole park is on that key ring. But, they just get made. I mean, people make them, even though they're stamped, do not duplicate, they get made.
Those little buildings in the park, because sometimes they're open too.
Yeah, I don't know how that's happening.
I know, because we don't know where those keys are, do we?
No, we
Okay.
don't. There's the old restroom and the first, building in there, we do not have keys to them.
At the end of planning, we
Somebody
have.
does.
Yeah, well, and that's what we're gonna have, CH and I are working on that, along with working on pool and a few other things to get things squared away to try to get a little more secure. The park garage and the electric building, those, we're pretty confident nobody has keys to those just yet, so we're in pretty good shape there. But this is something, this is a liability issue. If somebody gets in there, if the gate gets left open, something like that, at least now we know who might have the keys and who's doing what, so. Okay.
There's no surveillance there? No.
No, there's not.
Should electrify the fence.
Is that the record?
Is the intent with the policy to also collect the keys when the season is over to account?
We didn't have that before. The management agreement, they kind of, went with that. I do not know if, like, the lifeguards and stuff get their keys collected at the end of the year. I couldn't tell you that. But this key policy, and I know, Solicitor Cassidy's weighed in on this policy. This is something that was brought up, and I think it's a good idea. And I think moving forward, not only for just the pool area, but for the borough in general. I mean, keys to this building, keys to, we have key access, we have key fobs here. This would be something that would be good going forward. And it will supplement the fact that, like, most of us have to be fingerprinted because of access to the police department. So with the keys that I have, and the access I have to this building, I have to be fingerprinted, and that's a state requirement, or federal requirement, that's FBI. So, there's certain things that I think we need to put in place that have not been put in place, that going forward, this is one of them, the key policy is one of them.
For the record, I just wanna say that I'm for the higher tech. Let's do it once, spend the money and do it right, instead of, we're not collecting keys from our lifeguards after the season's over, we have.
Well, I don't know how many is given out to, that's the problem.
We don't know, the point is that we don't know any of that. If we make it electronic, we can change it on a dime.
Right. And exclude someone.
Right.
Well, and that's what I looked at, it was, Chairman Miller asked me about looking at using a card system or a key fob system like we use here, out there. The problem with it is the mechanisms are inside the doors, so we have to replace the doors out there, if we went that route. Because then we can shut it down. I mean, I can access the keep the fob system here and shut anybody out that I want to shut out right now. And we could do the same thing at the pool. However, there's a major investment of money involved in going that route. For a facility that's only open 3 months out of the year, even though it has a high liability issue there, that's something that if you guys tell me we're doing this, let's go for it, then I will do it.
If I understood the math, I'd be able to tell you that answer, in my opinion. If you're telling me it's $700 a season to change it out to guarantee.
We won't change it every year, but.
Why not, if we're giving keys out and not collecting them back?
But you're talking $10,000 to install set doors.
I didn't know that number, so is that a real number, or are you?
No, that's, the front doors out here to replace these doors with the electronic locks is a $10,000.
So maybe there's a somewhere in between solution maybe that would be.
We have to look and see what we can do, yeah. So, I will speak to Duties, and when he's out there, they have electronic stuff, they're the ones that do our system here, and I can see what they can do, but this will get us through this year, and I think at least be secured for this year, and then we can look at it going forward.
Another contractor to consult in the borough is Low B.
Low B does some of the stuff for us here too.
So we're the electronic options.
Yes, they're the ones that handle the security system at the compost site.
How much are we talking about for duty this year?
$766, I think is what it was.
700?
Yeah.
Okay. So the one mid option, might be to get some of the Schlage or similar standalone touchpad units.
Yes.
And install them just on the doors that give the lifeguards access to the limited number of areas that they need. Those can be changed locally at will, and then that would eliminate a physical key for just those few doors, and then have a physical key change for those who need access to other areas, and those keys would be restricted in terms of its distribution.
Yeah. I have a Schlage on my front door, and it's easy to use.
Yeah, no,
$90, I think.
depends, right, but it's not nearly as expensive as the electronic system. So that might be an alternative to prevent widespread key distribution.
Okay, I've got the appointment set up with them, to at least get the padlocks, and if it wasn't for the padlocks, it would be easy to go with the electronic system, but with the padlocks and them using that to take the trash out, for emergency access to get an ambulance in and stuff like that.
But you're saying the padlocks have to be keyed for those purposes, that does change the.
Why do they have to be keyed?
Well, we have to have, for them to be able to access those, they have a key for the padlocks. The key for the padlocks is the same as some of the other ones, because of getting a lifeguard opening the gate to let an ambulance in if they need it. The fire company used it the other year or two because there was a fire in the pump room. So there's different, there's a different component to this too, and those are outside in the weather all the time. The front of the building, a punch card or something like that may not work because it's gonna be in the weather
That's a
all the time.
bigger project than sounds.
Yeah, there could be the other part of it is, let's see what the feasibility study says when it comes back towards the end of the year. Because that may address a lot of this stuff and take it out of your hands and put it in, with feasibility study.
In the key change this year,
Yes.
to try to keep track of the keys better,
Absolutely.
and with the key policy that can help us do that, and also have the policy of bringing the keys back when the season's over.
Yep.
It'd be nice if they signed a paper saying they acknowledge that the keys are not to be duplicated and are to be returned.
That's included in the.
We're still making new keys that aren't gonna be returned likely, so.
Well, but at least they'll be signing something, they.
So they're caught, and then, well, how did you get in there?
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you for your efforts on that, Roger.
All right, any other key questions? No more key questions. Update on the pool slide repair, I guess that would also fall to you.
They are going to be here next week. It's coming out of around Pittsburgh, I believe is what it is. They're gonna take care of the slide. They're gonna, clear coat the entire slide, to try to get some of the other spider webs taken. And they're gonna fix the piece of the decking that needs to come down. So that stuff will all be taken care of next week. He's thinking maybe a half a day, 3/4 of a day. So depends on the weather and how long it takes for the clear coat to set. Then I will get everything squared away. And that's kind of where we stand with that.
All right, and there's possibility that there might be extra that the donation does not cover, is this true? Like about $500?
Yeah.
So we might be looking at $500.
I have a donor that can do that if necessary.
Okay.
And kudos, Mr. Suzuki, thank you for getting that done, and thank you to the Park and Rec Board. That's a great weight lifted for this season. It's wonderful, great news. It's a really good interim solution.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And hopefully frees up your time and,
I will, and I'm gonna reach out to the department. The only option I have for inspection right now is the Department of Ag. So I will reach out to them and get that scheduled. We have to get it done before we open the pool anyway, and that's usually what I do. But, council's wishes were that I not do the inspections on the slide, at least the slide repair. So our last option is to have.
Well, I think with you not doing the work.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I think with you not doing the work and with staff not doing the work, if you inspect, it's fine.
I have to do it anyway, so,
Well, it makes sense, because I think that last time we were concerned if you did the repair, but if you're not doing the repairs, you can inspect it. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So, are you willing to inspect the slide?
I will inspect the slide, but I have to inspect it for Department of Ag. So, and I will, the list that is in the renovation of the slides is the list that the Department of Ag would make us fix before they would certify the slide.
We would want you to honor your duties as a rep of the Department of Ag. Thank you.
That is all I have.
Personnel committee?
Personnel committee.
We will, talk about that during executive session.
Yeah. One more thing, though, which also has ties in with personnel, the update on the lifeguards.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Today, I received a spreadsheet of lifeguards that'll be on the agenda for next week, in 2 weeks to hire, or 3 weeks to hire. Some of them are returning, some of them are not. There is a water watchers, Laura, you're gonna have to remind me.
So water watchers are not replacement lifeguards. They are supplemental eyes. They are adults assigned to watch water, undistracted, just watch the water. They often switch off in very frequent time frames, like maybe they watch their section of water for 20 minutes and then somebody else comes and watches that section of water just to have an extra set of eyes. But they aren't in any way or shape or form to replace a certified lifeguard.
It's an enhancement?
It's an enhancement. And we have, what, 5?
There's 5 of them on here that are listed. Now, 2 of them are volunteer board members, and 2 of them are listed also as lifeguards. So,
How many lifeguards were on the list?
19.
there's 19, 19. There's 19. So, I think the front desk and the concession stand is kind of covered. I think that's a little light on personnel. The water watchers, I'm gonna be honest with you, I did send off to the insurance company because they are employees. So I think the insurance company needs to weigh in as to what they can do, and I think Solicitor Cassidy should weigh in as to us hiring city board members, volunteer board members. So.
Have we sent notices to the local churches asking them to publicize our search for lifeguards?
Not the churches. I know we've reached out to different schools. We've gone as far as Northern York. We had 3 applications come in from Northern York.
Would it be a burden on your office to send to the local churches and ask them to post that, or?
No, I think most of them are getting hit through the school too. Tanya and Sue have been reaching out to constantly certainly on the school, on Facebook pages and stuff like that, so. We can try it and see what happens, so. I do know that I got a call yesterday from, Penn Live. They were asking about our situation with lifeguards. Apparently there's some West Shore pools that will not be open this year because they're not getting lifeguards. I guess Harrisburg is not opening many of theirs at all.
And Chambersburg?
Shippensburg is the one that has a problem with their pool. But Chambersburg is another one that they're having issues. And I
think Shippensburg is not opening, right?
Shippensburg is not opening.
And Chambersburg is supposed to cover
Yeah.
that need, but I guess they're struggling with lifeguards.
But I'm also, what was it, Anvil, Cleona, and, there's another one on the East Shore, that are not gonna be opening.
Has Rec made recommendations for capacity issues if we do have an overflow from the other pools on a daily basis?
I like the idea of the churches just because we might get college kids. What about sending directly to Messiah University, to the students that remain that in the summer?
There's the opportunity there, but typically we don't get those college kids. We get the kids from Mechanicsburg that have gone away to college and back for the summer are typically the ones that we get. So, because their schedule's a little freer. So, but this is something that everybody.
It would be a good idea.
We can. So, this is something everybody's struggling with. We're sending stuff out,
And that's why we're trying to be creative, I think.
Yeah, we're not getting anything, nothing's coming back. I mean, this is, we've tossed around the idea of doing a press release, and, and it's, nobody's getting, so I just saw tonight in the news that, was it 4.5 million people quit their jobs in March
Good for them.
across the United States.
Good for them. Yeah, good for them.
So, I mean.
Workers unite.
Moving on. Citizens' comment.
Hello, everyone. I'm Keith Thomas. I live at 423 South Frederick Street, Mechanicsburg. Many of you know me also as the chair of the EAC. I'm also on the Shade Tree Committee. I will add, just before my comments, that in addition to what we were saying about the EAC, that we're also putting in pollinator gardens in the community garden, within the fence of the community garden. I'm actually the one who's doing that. I come here tonight to talk about a new source of pollution that's hit our town over the last couple of weeks. It involves the preventative maintenance that some utility is doing to all of our utility poles on the streets. Okay, so if you're familiar with the wooden poles, you see these black plastic plugs that are in the base of them, and they drill out these utility poles, put in preservatives, put some plugs in. Well, over the last couple of weeks, they've been doing probably annual maintenance. I don't know if it's annual maintenance or not, but there's been a crew of people coming around drilling out these plugs. When they don't, these plugs are designed to be screwed out, but they get stuck in that wood. So they put, I guess, a drill. I haven't actually seen them doing this, but they are removing these plugs, I think, with a drill, and what we're passing around is just the debris that is resulted from all of that. I noticed it in front of my house Friday the 29th when I saw maybe 40 or 50 pieces of plastic just on the pavement around my pole. I went out with my dustpan, swept it up, and cursed to myself about it. And then I noticed later on that there was a crew down on Cooper Street that was surveying. And then as I walked the dog over this past week, I've noticed that throughout Mechanicsburg, everywhere, when they can't get the plug out, they are routing it out, and they leave behind what you're looking at in these bags. I think that there are probably thousands of pieces of plastic that are now either in the grass where nobody really notices them, or on the sidewalk, and they're ending up in the street. Just in surveying, I've noticed, at Market in Portland, after they mowed today, they blew off the sidewalks, and when they blew off the sidewalks, that black plastic ended up in the street. At Keller and Market Street, there's a pole right by the storm drain, and I can see where black plastic has already entered the sewer. We had rain 2 days ago, and I've noticed on High Street where bits of black plastic is moving downstream away from the poles, and we know where it's all going to go. It's all going to go to Curtis, right? And this is hard stuff. This is hard plastic. It's going to be a problem there. It's going to be in our soil for hundreds of years here in Mechanicsburg. And so I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, that this is something that's occurred. I don't know exactly who's doing it. I think it's a subcontractor. It was a couple young guys with yellow vests on. I didn't recognize the name, and when I saw them driving by, I didn't really catch the name that was on their back. But I'm just sort of making you guys aware of all of it, and asking, can anything be done about it? Can we find out who the contractor was that has made this mess and require them to clean up some of the mess? And if not that, at least make sure that they don't do it again, because I suspect this is an annual type event that they go around. And as far as I know, we're doing this in every community. So if we put up an alarm that, hey, we don't like what just happened in our borough, maybe other boroughs won't suffer the same effect. And finally, I'm not aware at all about what the ordinances are about when the utilities come in to do their maintenance. They have to do their maintenance, but do we know about it? Is there any supervision about it? I think it ties into what was also said about employment. Who are they hiring to do it, and how much are they supervised? But it is a problem. I'll end by just pointing out, when you leave this building, as I entered the building tonight, I noticed that on the pole right outside here and over here by the barber shop, there's a lot of the same debris. So what you're seeing here is what I'm seeing all over town, and it shouldn't happen.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think it's important. I think we should follow up on this, and you can be fined for littering. So,
well, this is PUC. We're talking state level approval on this. So, we're not notified of where they're working or how they're working. Like Sunday, they were working up Main Street, digging out the bottom telephone poles. 4 or 5 crews. They had traffic blocked on both sides of the street going up through, and they don't notify us of, and that was Sunday afternoon. So
it's most likely Osmos.
Osmos.
Yeah, they're the name in the game.
And what poles are they working on?
Power poles.
PPL, okay. So PPL is really the starting point. It's their contractor that's littering, but PPL is responsible for the conduct of their contractors. And so the starting point is to contact PPL and frankly, perhaps sending a letter to the PUC as well on behalf of the borough and its residents complaining of PPL and their failure on the part of their contractors causing this littering throughout the borough. And you raised some excellent points in terms of how and why that's problematic. So that's really the starting point. All right.
Other questions?
Oh, yeah, if you haven't given me your other form, please do.
My what? I did mine online. Is that okay? Or do you need a copy of it?
Yeah, I need.
Is that it? Okay.
We need to know whether you did it or not.
Oh, yeah, feel free to use it if you don't remember it.
Get another one after that.
Yeah, I'm very sure I may have done it, but don't remember, I don't know. You did. I did it, you did. See, I don't remember it. See?
Yeah.
Just because I don't remember, it doesn't mean I didn't do it. I have to double check on you, I'm not sure.
All right. I
was in Silver Springs Township this morning for a pre-construction meeting for the Woods Drive, Silver Spring Road project. I don't know if anybody's aware of that. There's a stream location, box culvert, turning lane, and a red light, traffic light going to be going in on Woods Drive. PennDOT has approved a truck detour plan, shall we say, that will direct southbound trucks through the borough on Walnut Street to Simpson Street, make them make a left turn and go out to the highways from there. They are not to be turned anyplace else. We really hit them pretty hard as far as what signs were going to be put up. It is going to look like a forest of orange signs of don't do this, don't do that, the whole way up Walnut Street when this happens. Now, when this is happening, the weekend of July, let me make sure I get the right weekend. July 15th, 16th, and 17th is the initial permit date. That Silver Spring Road will be closed. You will not be able to go from Mechanicsburg to Carlisle Pike on Silver Spring Road. The rain date for that is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday the next weekend, the 24th, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. So that's a major project. They're going to be working out there for quite a bit, but that's when it's going to be closed completely, and that's when the detour is going to be in effect. Hampton Township and the borough talked to them pre-COVID, and we had an agreement with them that we would allow the trucks to go south out of the borough. Hampton Township's letting the trucks come in on a road that basically they don't let trucks along most of the time, on Salem Church Road. So, but
is part of that agreement if trucks do damage in the borough?
yes, and there's also an enforcement addendum in there that if we have to do excess enforcement, we can ask Silver Springs to help cover the cost of that. So we did everything we could to try to protect this. PennDOT, because they're all state roads, PennDOT said, you gotta keep truck traffic going in. The other thing that Silver Spring is going to do is they're going to contact all the trucking companies with the detour plan that are between here and the Carlisle Pike, including the ones out here at XPO Logistics, and let them know this is your route. So just keep that in your mind as we're going forward. When they first said it, I thought it was June, and I thought it was Jubilee Day weekend, but it's not, it's in July.
Good news. So we're coming up Walnut, crossing Main, left of Simpson.
Correct.
Okay.
Where they're allowed to make left turn now.
Right.
So we had to make some adjustments to the traffic light at Simpson, the timing, and we're going to be moving the stop bar back. So you're going to see that happening here before too long, and that was PennDOT requiring us to do that. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Nothing, Brenda.
Nothing. Councilman Martin?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Councilman
Nothing. Any more? Thanks.
It is Mental Health Awareness Month, so just keep that in mind through the month. I think we're in May, so that is what we'll be talking about all month.
I have nothing.
Nothing from me.
Nothing.
Thank you. We are adjourning to executive session on matter of personnel with no action.